So we've made the decision not to have a heater in the van. The main reason being that it is a very small space, and we just think that a heater would be a bit overkill for that. They're also quite expensive, so obviously price is playing a factor there too. If it ever does get chilly in the mornings, which it probably will do, we've got a gas hob. We can just light a ring on there, 5 or 10 minutes of that burning, the whole place is going to be toasty warm. There is one thing though that we do need to get right, and get right first time, and that's the insulation. A lot of people are using the rigid foam board for the flat surfaces and the woolly loft insulation to just cram into all the voids in the panelling, and this is exactly what we're going to do too. We have to get it right first time though. With the insulation, once that's on, the boarding's on, you can't really go back to it and then add more. If we think in a year's time it's a little bit chilly, we should have put more insulation. You just can't do that. So we've got to make sure we do a very good job first time round. So there's a lot riding on this. I've never insulated anything before. I've watched tons of videos on how to do it, so we'll see how it goes. So this is the insulation we're going to be using for filling the cavities. It's called Dial Recycled Plastic Loft Insulation. It's from B&Q. It's not the cheapest, but we decided we're going to go for the recycled stuff, just being good to the planet and everything. But also really importantly is this, itch free. It is plastic, it's not the glass stuff that is really irritating. So I think all in it's worth the extra expense just for that. If we use the glass stuff in here, they're going to have all those particles floating around everywhere, getting on the seating and stuff. It's just going to make the whole place itchy for a while. I really don't want that. One thing to note with this stuff though, it says it's 100mm thick, and it really isn't. This has been out trying to see if it would expand overnight, and it hasn't. It's still only about 50mm, so we're probably going to have to double it up in places. I did think that once we've cut the pieces out to fit in the cavities, just to sort of break it up a little bit, fluff it out just to make it a bit more, put some more air pockets in there. We'll see how it goes, see how it fits in there, but that is a little bit disappointing, but there's not really a lot we can do about that. Trying to do as we fit out the van is try and stop as many rattles as possible. And now taking the door card off one of the back doors, I found in here the locking mechanism cables do rattle and bang about, so I need to do something about that while I've got this open. I'm just going to get a few cable ties, tie them back, keep them in place. So after quite a few delays, the insulation is finally finished. We've got it all done. Delays weren't caused by the job really, just got other things to do, weather being bad and that sort of thing. We've got there, we've done it. Everything is shiny silver. The last part of the job was to remove the liner above the cab and insulate all that up there, and now that's looking sweet. Now, one of the trickiest parts of doing the insulation was doing this centre panel here on the side. We were tending to use the rigid kingspan like we did on the floor and the ceiling, but what we didn't realise is, well, that recess at this end is 50mm deep. By the time you get to this end, it's tapered to about half that. So we spent a long time trying to cut out that odd shape anyway, but then realising that it's going to need a lot of work, a lot of sort of shaving off and tapering to get it to fit well. We just abandoned the idea. There is a little bit of kingspan at this end here, but the rest of it is just the woolly insulation, the soft stuff, and that's been glued to the side, so that's working really well. I do wish we'd decided to do that in the first place and didn't have to spend well, many hours over a few days trying to get the rigid insulation to fit. It's the same on this side as well. This side's now boarded, we've got that covered up, but that's all the woolly stuff on there. It's worked really well, it's done a really good job. One other problem we had was using the stick pins to fix the rigid board onto flat surfaces. They don't really work. I did hear a lot of good things about them, and we used them, but they haven't held. They are loose. Yeah, I don't really know what to do about that. I don't think it's going to rattle and move about. Well, it's going to get taped, it's going to get covered with a piece of ply. But the stick pins, they don't do as good a job as you think they're going to do. We've even got some bits on the ceiling here where it's just completely released itself. Luckily it's all taped in and everything, so the insulation isn't going to go anywhere. It's going to be held in there once the ply ceiling's in place, but that's not very good. So beware of that when you use the stick pins. Be very careful. I'm not going to say don't use them, but just be aware you might want to glue them as well. Like I say, I've seen people use them and they seem to have worked really well. I don't know what we did differently, but I did clean the ceiling down, degreased it and everything. I even got some isopropyl alcohol to make sure there was literally no grease or anything on the ceiling that would stop the glue of the pins sticking, but that made no difference at all. So I don't know, did we get a bad batch? Who knows, but we did use them all across the ceiling, and it is holding in most places, but in certain places it has just given up. So like I say, just watch out for that. So yeah, that's all the insulation done. I hope that was informative and you've learnt something. It's been, I'd say, easy. It's not a difficult job, it's a messy job. It did seem to be a slow job. It's the first time we've done any of this. It's all new. It doesn't really matter if you make mistakes, as long as it's all covered, you're insulated, and that's really all there is to it. Like I say, watch out for the stick pins if you use those. Consider using glue as well, or just don't use them. And the side panels there aren't what you think they are, or they weren't what we thought they were. Maybe it's just a stupid mistake we made, I don't know. As you've seen in the video, we've got some of the panelling done already. That's the next job to finish. Some of the electrics have gone in, some of the wiring's up, the 12 volt particularly, and we do have batteries in place now. They're under the passenger seat. Also, you may have seen in this video that we've started putting some of the carpeting on the bare metal. That's quite a fun job. I enjoy doing that. Hopefully going to make a video of that as well, if time permits. Do have a lot of other things to do, but it's not particularly difficult. It's a bit nerve-wracking, the first piece of carpet you put up, but you soon realise that it goes on pretty easily. And the best thing about it is once it's on there, it looks spectacular. It absolutely covers everything. Everything looks completely smooth and looks a professional job. So it's not something I'm going to be too worried about. But it's going to look great when it's done, though.